For more than 7 decades, the American criminal landscape has been haunted by two towering monoliths of mystery, two grisly enigmas that seem to exist in entirely different universes. In 1947, it was the Black Dahlia, the stomach-churning mutilation of an aspiring actress in Los Angeles. 20 years later, it was the Zodiac, a hooded phantom who turned the lovers' lanes of Northern California into killing fields. For generations, these cases were treated as separate chapters of horror, studied by different departments and obsessed over by different cults of amateur sleuths. But as we close out 2025, the impossible has happened. A groundbreaking reinvestigation, fueled by the cold, calculating power of artificial intelligence, has finally bridged the gap between these two nightmares. The bridge isn't just a theory. It is built on a foundation of ink and paper. Both killers shared a pathological obsession with the spotlight, a narcissistic need to taunt the authorities through a relentless stream of cryptic letters, postcards, and complex ciphers that mocked the police for their lack of material. These messages were designed to be unbreakable, psychological labyrinths that left the greatest human codebreakers of the 20th century chasing shadows. However, where human intuition hit a wall, modern AI has found a path. By crunching decades of census records, military archives, and linguistic patterns that no human eye could track, an advanced AI algorithm has finally cracked the infamous Z13 cipher. It has stripped away the mask of the man who dared the world to find him, revealing a single name that connects the 1947 bisection of Elizabeth Short to the 1960s reign of the Zodiac. That name is Marvin Skipton Margolis. The reason this case has suddenly exploded back into the global spotlight is a world-exclusive report published by the Daily Mail on December 23, 2025, revealing that the FBI and California police departments are now formally reviewing this explosive new evidence, making this perhaps the most significant update in the history of the investigation. A man who didn't just haunt the history books, but lived within the very heart of the investigations that failed to catch him. To truly grasp how artificial intelligence managed to weave these two disparate nightmares into a single tapestry of terror, we must first descend into the dark details of the crimes themselves. These were not mere murders, they were performances of cruelty that bookended a golden era of California history. The first chapter began on a fog-chilled morning in January 1947, in a vacant lot in Leimert Park, Los Angeles. A mother walking with her child discovered what she thought was a discarded store mannequin, only to realize she was staring at the severed remains of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, forever immortalized by the press as the Black Dahlia. The scene was a masterpiece of macabre precision. Short's body had been drained of blood, scrubbed clean, and bisected perfectly at the waist with surgical accuracy. Her face had been carved into a Glasgow smile, a permanent, haunting grin extending from the corners of her mouth to her ears. The killer, calling himself the, quote, Black Dahlia Avenger, began a cat-and-mouse game with the Los Angeles Examiner, sending clippings of her personal belongings and letters constructed from newspaper headlines. Despite over 190 suspects and one of the largest manhunts in LAPD history, the trail went cold, leaving behind only a trail of cryptic taunts and a city paralyzed by fear. Fast forward 2 decades to the late 1960s, and a new phantom emerged 400 miles to the north. In the quiet lovers' lanes of Vallejo and the upscale streets of San Francisco, a hooded figure began targeting young couples with a chilling lack of motive. This was the Zodiac. Unlike the surgical silence of the Dahlia Killer, the Zodiac was a loud, narcissistic terrorist. He ambushed victims with semi-automatic pistols and, in one terrifying instance at Lake Berryessa, donned a black executioner's hood, emblazoned with a crosshair symbol, before stabbing 2 students with a long, military-style blade. He didn't just kill, he demanded the front page of every major newspaper, threatening to wipe out a school bus full of kiddies if his ciphers weren't published. For years, the world believed the Zodiac was a product of the counterculture 60s, a modern monster. But the AI investigation suggests we were wrong. The precision, the craving for media attention, and the sadistic ritualism were all there in 1947. We weren't looking at a new killer, we were looking at a monster who had simply evolved. The breakthrough didn't come from a dusty file cabinet, but from the relentless processing power of modern algorithms. How did AI succeed where the FBI's greatest cryptographers failed for over half a century? The answer lies in the sheer scale of data. Investigative consultant Alex Baber fed the AI a massive dataset, thousands of pages of military records, decade-specific census data, and the linguistic DNA of every major suspect. The AI was programmed to ignore the Zodiac's intentional phonetic smokescreens, deliberate misspellings like paradise or victim, and instead focus on the underlying mathematical structure of the Z13 cipher. After processing over 500 name variations against the 13-character code, the AI hit a singular high-probability match: Margolis. But the AI's contribution didn't stop at a name. It identified a cryptographic lineage. By cross-referencing the Z340 and Z13 ciphers with World War II-era training manuals, the AI discovered that the Zodiac's coding style was nearly identical to the techniques taught by the Signal Intelligence Service, the elite U.S. military code-breaking unit during the war. It was then revealed that Margolis's closest associate during the late 1940s was Bill Robinson, a high-level operative in that very unit. The AI essentially traced the Zodiac's education back to a secret military classroom in the 1940s, providing the logic for how a single man could outsmart the authorities for decades. The digital evidence was quickly bolstered by a trove of damning physical artifacts. Investigators, guided by the AI's geographic profiling, turned their attention to Margolis's background as a World War II Navy corpsman. This specific medical training provided the surgical precision required to bisect Elizabeth Short in 1947, a task the original coroner insisted was done by someone with professional anatomical knowledge. Furthermore, the AI linked a 1945 photograph of Margolis to a specific weapon, a Japanese Type 30 bayonet he brought home from the Pacific Theater. The dimensions of this 11-inch military blade are a perfect match for the jagged, horrific wounds found on the victims at Lake Berryessa in 1969. Through the lens of AI, the scalpel of the 1940s and the bayonet of the 1960s were held by the same hand. As the AI's data points began to overlap, a terrifyingly clear picture emerged. Every road in this 70-year investigation leads back to a single man. The geographic and psychological profiling created by the algorithm has reduced the possibility of coincidence to nearly zero. The most staggering piece of evidence lies in a place called the Zodiac Motel. While the world long believed the killer took his name from a Swiss watch brand, AI-driven historical mapping discovered a motel of that exact name in Linwood, California, which opened just months before the Black Dahlia's murder. Not only was this motel located on a direct path between the victim's last known location and the dump site, but a canvas bag marked with a bold letter Z was found just 4 minutes away from Elizabeth Short's body. The AI suggests that the Zodiac was not a new identity born in the 60s, but a signature born in a blood-stained bathtub in 1947. The profile further solidified through geographic AI profiling in Oceanside, California. In 1962, a taxi driver named Ray Davis was executed in a wealthy neighborhood, a murder that bore every hallmark of the Zodiac's later execution of Paul Stine in San Francisco. When the AI cross-referenced property records, it placed Marvin Margolis living on Elm Street, less than 2 blocks from where Ray Davis's taxi was abandoned. This isn't just a proximity, it is a statistical anomaly. The AI points to a clear evolution of evil. A man who started as a surgical sadist, seeking absolute control in the 40s, and evolved into a media-hungry terrorist seeking global infamy in the 60s. But perhaps the most chilling 90% certainty factor comes from the suspect's own hand. Forensic document examiners, supported by AI handwriting comparison software, have analyzed the letters sent by the Black Dahlia Avenger in 1947 and the Zodiac in 1969. The results show a match in slant, pressure, and specific character formations that are unique to Margolis. To top it off, a deathbed confession in the form of a macabre sketch was found among his possessions, Sauki Onkwadoi Viunthu. The drawing featured the name Elizabeth, entwined with a hidden, stylized word, Zodiac. When you combine the surgical skills, the military bayonet, the geographic links, and the handwriting matches, the probability of it being anyone else disappears into the shadows. Despite the overwhelming mountain of circumstantial evidence and the chilling accuracy of the AI's decryption, the world of criminal justice demands one final, indisputable seal: DNA. As we stand in late 2025, the investigation has moved from the digital cloud into the sterile light of a forensic laboratory. The youngest son of Marvin Margolis, in a move that could forever alter the annals of American history, has handed over hundreds of his father's personal artifacts to Alex Babber's team. These items, including the infamous military bayonet and original letters, are currently undergoing high-sensitivity forensic DNA analysis. The goal is simple but monumental: to find a genetic match between Margolis and the biological traces left on the stamps and envelopes of the Zodiac's letters, or the Black Dahlia Avenger package from 1947. The legal world is already bracing for the impact. In a rare move for cold cases of this age, the FBI and the interagency group with jurisdiction over the Zodiac crimes, including the San Francisco and Napa County Police Departments, have officially accepted Babber's findings for review. In Los Angeles, the LAPD's Robbery-Homicide Division has been directed to re-examine the Black Dahlia files in light of this new Marvin Margolis profile. We are no longer talking about internet theories or amateur sleuthing. We are watching a formal, high-stakes verification process that could officially declare the two greatest murder mysteries of the 20th century solved. If the DNA results return as a match, the history books will be rewritten. It would mean that for 70 years, a single man walked among us, a war veteran, a medical student, a father, who carried the darkest secrets of California's soul. It would mean that the AI was right, that the code was broken, and that the phantom has finally been unmasked. Until that final forensic report is signed, the case remains the ultimate cliffhanger. But one thing is certain: the shadow of Marvin Margolis has never loomed larger. The question is no longer who was he, but rather how did he hide for so long?